Hi everybody, welcome to Visions, a video created for Visions from the Bottom. This is Bottom Bitch, and this is going to be the third video in our safety series. This video is about how to meet somebody for the first time that you've been interacting with online and how to do it in the safest way possible. I'm going to apologize for my earbuds here. I'm having some kind of weird audio visual syncing thing going on. I want to blame it on YouTube. Hopefully the earbuds help clear it up so that you get my message a little better. We'll see. I don't edit these. I just kind of say what needs to be said and then throw it out there. So hopefully this will turn out the way I need it to turn out. But to the topic at hand. Neutral location. How do I do it? What's the best way? The safest way is to do it in a public location. I am not a fan of giving out a whole lot of personal information very early on. I think that you need to hold back for as long as possible to make sure that the person that you are talking to is a person worthy of the information that you're going to give them. Everybody doesn't need to know your last name. Everybody doesn't need to have your home phone number. Everybody doesn't need your home address. It's 2012. We should have heard enough news stories by now of predators, stalkers, dangerous people that we understand that giving out a whole bunch of personal information right out the gate, it's probably asking for trouble. Probably. Who knows? But wouldn't you rather be safe than sorry? I would. So let's first go over meeting an online person in a neutral location that's not kinky. That could be your local shopping mall. It could be a Starbucks. It could be the big oak tree in your local park. A neutral location. It's a location that shouldn't be very close to your home. It's a location that shouldn't have any personal connection to you. It should not be your home. It should not be a hotel. It should not, and I don't know why I have to say this, but I'm going to anyway, because I've heard incredibly interesting stories. It should not be where you work. And I just want to clear this up. It should not be where you work. If for no other reason, even if this person is not dangerous, crazy, Gary Heidnik, Jeffrey Dahmer kind of crazy, where they're going to cut you up and eat you for dinner, they might be socially disturbed. They might have a little bit of stalkeritis to them, where they meet you for the first time and they really like you, and if they know where you work and start showing up every day and you can't get rid of them, you now have to explain that to your boss, that boss that signs your paycheck. So don't tell them where you work. Don't give them your work phone number. Let's use a little common sense, even though I've heard that common sense is not common. Moving right along. The neutral location should not be something that's easily identified to you. If you drive to the neutral location, I don't recommend parking your vehicle right in front of the location where the other person might see it. Again, until you know for sure that this is a safe person that you are meeting, until you know for sure, I think that you should take as many precautions as possible. So park a block away. And walk to the diner, walk to the Starbucks, walk to, if you're at a mall and you're going to meet them at the food court by the east entrance, park at the south entrance. Don't put any of your personal identifiers immediately into this person's hands until you know that they're a person that you can entrust with your personal information. The plus side of a neutral, non-kinky location like a shopping mall is wonderful. I mean, it's a shopping mall. There's cameras everywhere. There are people everywhere. There's security almost everywhere. It affords you a lot of exit opportunities. You know, if Ted Bundy is sitting across the table from you when you go to meet him. The advantages of Starbucks, or, you know, something a little more small and intimate, or a coffee date, is that there's no real expectation that it has to last for any length of time. If the two of you hit it off wonderfully and end up sitting there for 3 hours because you have that kind of time and you like each other, bravo. If you walk in and he told you that he looked like Brad Pitt, but he actually looks like Mini-Me, there's really no obligation to stay. You walk up to the counter, you get your Venti triple mocha with extra foam, and you walk back out, and it's a beautiful thing. You are laughing, but I've had one of those. I've had somebody describe themselves as one person, and when I met them, they were a dwarf. He didn't tell me he was a dwarf. I had to see for myself that he was a dwarf. But I was able to walk in and get my 20-ounce coffee and walk right back out and not have to curse him out because he was a dwarf. But that's a whole other story. Those are the advantage of a neutral location. That's not kinky, is that there are so many different exit strategies that you can utilize all or most, you know, you can utilize any one of them and not compromise yourself. The drawback to a neutral non-kinky location is if you are looking for something, okay, backtrack. The drawback to a non-kinky neutral location is that you don't get to see this person in a kink environment. And we're going to explain that in a second when we go to the munch. But depending on what you want from the person that you're meeting, if you are looking for something that's more than friendship, at some point you have to see them in some type of kinky environment to make a determination as to whether or not there's somebody that you were going to engage in S&M play with. You'll need that at some place, at some point in time along the timeline. You're probably not going to get it at the Dunkin' Donuts, but you might get it at a munch. Now, for those of you that don't know what a munch is, it's a social gathering of kinky people. They advertise them, you know, in magazines, on FetLife, things like that. You know, they'll say we're all getting together at B&B's Diner at 7 o'clock. You know, a munch is a social gathering. Some munch locations are held in a bar. Some of them are held in a private home where you would have to be vetted before you could get there. Some munch groups rent a whole hall, like a VFW hall, and rent the hall for that night, so that the only people there, in theory, are the kinky people. So that you're not having to interact with the vanilla people, and you can just kind of let your hair down and be yourself. Some munch groups just only have the munch, which is, you know, socializing. You get a little name tag that says, "Hi, I'm Bottom Bitch. I love violet wines," and then you look across the room and there'll be Hank, and you go, "Hi, my name is Hank. I have a violet wine," and you lock eyes and gravitate towards one another and negotiate and do what grown folk do. Some munches are just that kind of thing, where you go out and you're hanging with kinky people, you have a couple burgers, you have a couple beers if they serve beer, and you get to know that person as a person and not as a potential submissive, as a potential dominant. It would just be Hank and Nicole. Some munch groups will have the social part of the evening first, and then have an educational presentation after that. You know, I've supported a friend of mine at one of those, the North Jersey group. The South Jersey group invited a friend of mine to come down and speak. So I went over with a different friend, and we got there, and the tables were set up, and there was social time. Then there was the presentation, which happened to be on interrogation, if I'm remembering correctly. And then there was, let's have our snacks, and then it was over. That's also a very valid way to meet somebody in a public setting. If it's a munch group that has an educational workshop with it, that's also wonderful, because you get to learn something that you may not already know, especially if you're a new person. You may not have ever heard of interrogation play, but when you go and the speaker's talking about interrogation, you've learned of a new kink that you might want to try. Yay! Some munches will have that dinner socializing thing, and then go to a local dungeon or a private home for a play party. Again, it's a fairly neutral way to meet somebody where you're not compromising a lot of yourself. If this munch group has a play party afterwards, and you either meet somebody at the play party that you really clicked with, or the person that you've been talking to online meets you there, this is a great time to have your first play session. You get to see if they are who they say they are. If they tell you that they're a dominant with 55 years worth of experience, but they're only 35 years old, and that they have a lot of toys, you get to see if the only thing that they bought was their hand to spank you, and they're calling a flogger or sword. You get to see that if there's a play party. You get to see how clean they keep their equipment. You get to see, if they have 4 different floggers that they're going to use, not necessarily on you, but maybe on somebody else, because they might play with somebody else. You get to see if, they flog person with flogger number 1, and then just throw it on the floor and pick up flogger number 2, and then go get flogger number 1 off the floor 10 minutes later to play with them. That's not clean, safe, or sanitary. You get to see that at a play party. So those are some of the advantages at meeting somebody at a kinky event. You see them in their kink environment. You get to learn details about them that you're probably not going to be able to get in your general conversation where you're talking about rainbows and kittens over the internet. It's a way to see the kinky side of somebody probably a little quicker than if you never meet them at a kink event. And it's still a way that you can be safe. The munch groups that I go to, people know me. They know who I am. So if I am meeting somebody at the Black Beat Munch for the very first time, and this person turns out to be a crazy psycho whatever, there are any number of people at this munch group that I can go, hey, can you walk me to the train? Can you walk me to my car? Can you do this? I don't feel comfortable. Will you look out for me? And because I'm a member of this group, and because I participate, and because I've been out and they know who I am, and some of them even like me, they'll help ensure my safety. So those are 2 options to meeting somebody for the very first time: the neutral non-kinky location and the neutral kinky location. Either one is fine. You want to select the choice that's best for you, the one that fits best in what you're looking for out of the person that you've been talking to online, the best that will fit into your personal schedule, and the one that will make you feel the most comfortable until you can move on to a different step. So, thank you for listening. This is Bottom Bitch. I'm going to wrap this up. Please stop by the website, www.visionsfromthebottom.com. Thank you. And I'll see you soon.